Coming up on Smart Tech today, Matthew Cassinelli and I are talking about the cool new offering from Wyze. It's an outdoor camera that's completely wireless. Plus, NASA is reminding you not to touch your face. And we talk about voice and the Google Assistant. All that plus a long conversation about the stuff you don't yet know about what was announced at WWDC. Stay tuned because there's so much to talk about here on Smart Tech Today. Smart Tech Today is brought to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? Well, LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether they're working in the office or remote. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by Mint Mobile. They provide the same premium network coverage you're used to, but at a fraction of the cost because everything is online. Mint Mobile makes it easy to cut your wireless bill down to just $15 a month with their 3-month introductory plan and get that plan shipped to your door for free at mintmobile.com/STT. Hello and welcome to Smart Tech Today. This, of course, is the podcast where we explain the exciting, the dynamic, and the, well, sometimes confusing subject that is the Internet of Things and everything that is around that. Connected tech, smart tech, all of it. I am Mikah Sargent.
And I am Matthew Cassinelli. Hello, hello.
Hello, aloha, and hi. I like your shirt.
Thank you. Got the Apple Watch logo or activity rings from Apple campus. So it's a fun shirt.
So those are the activity rings if they were sort of unrung.
Yeah, exactly.
That reminds me of that weird trivia about how if you were to take someone's intestines out of their body, they'd be like as tall as a giraffe or something like that. And then if you laid someone's vascular system end to end, they could go around the entire globe, I think is what it is.
The whole globe? Seems...
well, let me see.
One's a giraffe, but the other one is the entire span of the
system end to end.
I see. Like
circulatory system. If you were to lay out the arteries, capillaries, and veins in one adult end to end, they would stretch about 60,000 miles. By comparison, the circumference of the Earth is only about 25,000 miles. So you could go twice around the Earth with all of your capillaries, veins, and arteries. Although
that's a lot of bloody shoreline. I don't know. That was a weird joke that did not go over well. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. You know, we try.
I was thinking of the Ozark show because there's lots of shoreline on that thing. But anyways, let's talk Smart Tech. Show.
We could, but I just wanted to relate it back to your shirt just to say that I wonder if we take all of the activity rings and lay them out end to end, how tall
it'd be as big as the shirt.
Wow. So moving right along, I wanted to briefly talk that I would say this is a popular product among the Twit audience in particular, but among kind of those with sort of a tech knowledge and with the desire to add some more cost-effective devices, smart devices to their home. Wyze has come out with it's called the Outdoor Starter Bundle, and it offers wireless, completely wireless and weather-resistant camera with motion detection. Basically, it lets you mount this camera wherever you'd like, and you don't have to worry about wire-free, or you don't have to worry about any wires. So the battery is supposed to last between 3 and 6 months. It's a rechargeable battery and lets you sort of have an eye on your whole system. It's paired with a base station that you keep in your home, of course, connected to your home system, your home network, and each base station can support up to 4 cameras so that you can view all of the streams within your home app. Now, within the Wise app, one of the things to know is that you can buy the starter bundle, which includes the base station and one camera, for $49.99, and then adding cameras after that, they're $39.99 a piece. So
not bad.
Very cost effective in comparison to some of the other cameras that are out there, smart cameras that are out there. And Wise has a sort of long history now at this point of being an affordable camera that actually works, and more importantly, that isn't going to get you hacked and watched by some strangers on the internet because you bought the $10 Amazon camera that has some strange online system. Wise actually has a little bit of clout, I guess I would say, to sort of back it up, and has been in the past a reliable choice for both cost-effective and providing a level of security that you're not going to get from some of those. I just typed in security camera on Amazon and this is what popped up kind of thing. Yeah. So I was excited about this. I thought this was pretty cool.
Those are interesting. I am in the market for smart camera stuff. Although the part about it being wire-free just reminded me that somebody stole my Eve degree and or it fell off and they took it.
Oh,
but
no.
I had stuck it under the house, and I mean, it might have come off. I don't know, but I was like, why can't I see what temperature it is outside? And the other one's battery had died, so I was trying to fix that. And then I went out and I was like, oh, it's gone. And that happened 2 weeks before I checked it. So I was like, oops. Guess that's gonna hopefully that put these cameras out of reach.
Alrighty. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is NASA getting into, I guess I shouldn't say getting into the health game, because NASA has to be in the health game already, but in a very specific way to help out with reminding you not to touch your face.
Yes, this is cool. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's I was ready for you to tell me all about it. The Pulse.
Sure. Yeah, we've mentioned stuff like this before, but I thought it was an interesting just kind of project from them, because part of it is that they're releasing these designs open source, but it's a way to 3D print a case that runs off of a simple coin battery that you can get in pretty much any store, and then some simple parts, and it will make a vibration motor. So anytime you get within a couple of inches of your face, it will vibrate. And I thought that was a good method because it just kind of sits around your neck. But they're also trying to basically get more people into this and basically improve the designs so that it could be something a little more common that people could put together. Because I always especially for something that's this important, just this sort of DIY mentality, it makes me think of NFC tags being cheap. It's just not every single piece of smart tech has to cost $120.
Right.
So it's always helpful when you can make it yourself. But of course, not most people don't have 3D printers. But it's just a little nubbin thing. I don't know how to describe it. Almost like a little keychain. It looks like a little
necklace charm.
Yeah.
That sort of a larger size necklace charm, and it sits at the end of a necklace and has a proximity sensor in it, which is super cool. So as you move your hands towards your face, the closer you get, the more it vibrates as a reminder. I would like to, I hope that somebody out there creates these and sort of sells them, because that's the best way for me to be able to get one. But I think, it's a pretty cool idea using an infrared proximity sensor, as opposed to some of the other designs that try to work out through machine learning and those kinds of technologies as you're moving your hand up and down. The gyroscope and all that kind of stuff can be a little bit inaccurate, and or it can be super false positive-y, which is a very scientific term. And so this feels a little bit more realistic. But then also, as your partner comes in for a hug, it will buzz you and say, no, don't let this happen. So,
well, if you're hugging strangers, it'll help.
That's true. Yeah. Remember, don't hug strangers. I'm
not good at jokes today.
Oh, dear. there's the NASA Pulse made by or designed by the Jet Propulsion Lab. Very cool. And yeah, it's available on GitHub. So you can get all the information you need there. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So this is something that I know folks have been pretty excited about. I dug into these settings just to see what was going on. There's a new feature or an improved feature called sound recognition coming in the next version of iOS. And it's an accessibility feature. However, it has interesting implications for anyone. And again, I want to be clear. The only reason I'm making that distinction is because typically folks tend to think of accessibility features as features that are available to certain groups of people based on their needs. But oftentimes, accessibility features can be used very helpfully by anyone. And I think that this is one of those examples. So what is it that the sound recognition feature does, and what can I use it for?
It basically is using as I think one of the reasons it's an accessibility feature is because it does use your device to listen around for the sounds, but it has fire alarms, sirens, smoke alarm, cats, dogs, appliances, car horn, doorbell, door knock, water running, baby crying, or shouting. And there's options for turning each of these on or off, depending on your needs, because not everybody wants all of those specifically. But then basically your phone can start recognize when those things are happening and alert you if you're not aware. So I think the clear accessibility use case is people who are hard of hearing and aren't able to necessarily notice those things, and it could be going on without you. I actually find ironically, wearing my AirPods a lot of times, I don't notice these things, or that was a problem at the beginning. Like water running is the one that I would leave something running and then be like, oh my God, that was still going. But this is just an amazing one of those features where you don't think of it until they do it, and you're like, oh, that's obvious that it should help you, especially if it's always on in a low power way that doesn't cost much battery life. That probably would be people's main concern, but I don't see why you wouldn't want to turn all of this on, because it would be nice no matter what. Just that little aid of hey, you should pay attention to that. Little nudges are always good.
Yeah. I think, again, this is a great feature that I can see, even if it doesn't right now. Folks are so clever and so smart, and I wouldn't be surprised if they come up with some clever uses for this technology that we're not even thinking of right now.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how the sound recognition features continue to improve and how they're used in future ways.
There is a shortcut action to turn this on as well, which is cool. In the apps category under settings, they have a couple of new accessibility features, which is nice. Like that.
You know what there still isn't? The ability for me to add data to toothbrushing.
Like the health app? Oh.
Yes.
Have you filed your feedback? We can talk about feedback soon also. I see that face. That's one of the benefits of the video podcast is Mikah's face right now.
I don't know what you're talking about, Matthew Cassinelli. Filing feedback. Yeah, no, I do need to, because there's a way to, it's funny, there's a shortcut in the Shortcuts app that lets you access the page for toothbrushing in the health app, but there is still no thing that says, what is it, the add data to health entry or something like that. Yeah, add health sample. Yeah. There's still no toothbrushing option in that. So I can go to the page and then enter it manually. But what I want is eventually, I have NFC tags. I want to put an NFC tag on the charging base of my toothbrush. And then when I brush my teeth, I just tap my phone to the charging base, and it knows that I've brushed my teeth. I can enter that, because I always brush my teeth for the recommended 2 minutes, and I go longer than that. I'm teased about that, because it does that at the end. Zzz, 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 and then my partner's always like, why are you still going? I'm like, there's still so much to do. Anyway, Yeah, so at the very least, I can tap it and it'll put in 2 minutes of teeth brushing in that entry, and then I'll just have that there, and I want to have it there without having to, do extra work. So I wish they would have added that, and I don't know why it's still not in there. I know. File my feedback.
I will duplicate it and I will pass it along. I have a thread on Twitter where I'm doing shortcuts feedback, so at least you can pass it too.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. But that's definitely, I'll talk about it in a bit, but feedback is, especially for the Shortcuts app, is incredibly important.
Yeah, so this is something, the next thing, it kind of perplexes me, I have to say, that the Amazon Echo for a long time has not let you create a reminder on one speaker and then have that reminder play or sort of get back to you on all of the speakers. It wasn't a universal reminder announcement, which kind of blows my mind, because if there's one thing that the Amazon system does well, the Echo system does well, it is that sort of networked system. I, for example, can open up my iPhone, go to the Amazon Music app, and start to play a playlist, and then switch to an audio group I call Downstairs, for example, and it starts playing music on all of the speakers downstairs. No problem, no lag, no issues between them. So it's kind of a wonder to me that only now can you set a reminder on your Amazon Echo and have it play across all of your devices at the same time. So this is good, but it is weird that it wasn't already there, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's less high priority because people do tend to have like the primary device that they use. I have mine in my, actually you can see it here in the shot. It's hidden back there, but mine always goes off and we hear it from downstairs. So like, I think it would be nice to be able to clear them all and kind of synchronize them all between the devices too. I'm not totally sure how much this does that, just because it just came out, but I'll have to test that a little bit. But it makes sense. It's like, you're right, the ecosystem, that does make me roll my eyes a little bit. I had to pause for a moment. But that is like a benefit that I've always been jealous of. Like, I want to be able to use my, like, speak into my HomePod and have it come out downstairs and stuff like that. So maybe we'll get there one day. I could probably do that with Shortcuts, but I don't think my girlfriend wants me to do that also, so that's not necessarily something I'm missing. But yeah, this is just another nice quality of life thing, especially since people have so many Echoes.
Yeah. Up next, a category that I had just mentioned on Twitter is my least experimented with category. God, that's a really weird way to put that, but that is how it works. It is the security system, the smart home security system. Eufy has come out with a system that is trying to kind of undercut and own the space. I think is really interesting. So this is Eufy Security, which of course is an Anker brand. I have a Eufy RoboVac, for example. It's all owned by Anker. But these cameras, the security system works with Anker's HomeKit security cameras. So it's a whole system that wants to take on the likes of Amazon's Ring and Google's Nest. And honestly, it looks pretty nice, I have to say.
Yeah. It's kind of just like one of those nice, John Redinger on Twitter was asking about like, what's a good home security system? And I tagged you because I was like, Mikah's the one. But it is like, there's Ring, there's Nest, and then kind of a couple of other options. So now this seems like a good competitor in this space. And Anker is just like a solid brand that's come up. I'm sure most people know them for their little battery chargers. So Eufy is kind of their new all-around brand for smart home stuff. So this
stuff, yeah,
exactly. And it's only $160. So I think that is like pretty appealing.
Yes,
maybe we'll have to get some and try them out.
So it's $160, but there's a launch day promo code that takes the price down to $130. Again, this is new, and it'll be hard to see how Eufy's system compares. Something that we'll kind of find out in time. But I do think that this is a reasonable take, given the fact that it includes all of the kind of bits and bops that you need: 2 entry sensors, the motion sensor, the keypad, an alarm system, and then again, the fact that it links with the Eufy camera. So yeah, I'm impressed. And we'll kind of have to see how it plays out in this space. But the fact that it works with the HomeKit system is really kind of nice. Yeah. That's the big thing for me. I wanted to properly tie in and provide the experience that I'm looking for. But we'll have to keep an eye on this one for sure. Mm-hmm. All righty. Let's take a quick break before we come back with lots of news in the Google space. This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by Mint Mobile. You recognize that fox, don't you? Listen, I got my first cell phone with one of the big wireless providers right out of high school. But look, not a big fan of those monthly bills because they were so large, ridiculously pricey. Luckily, there happened to be another option that provided the same premium service that I, got with the big mobile carriers, and yet somehow did all of those things at a fraction of the cost. And that's Mint Mobile. By switching to Mint Mobile, I and you can cut your wireless bill down to just $15 a month. That means I got to save hundreds of dollars. $15 a month. I don't even want to know what you're paying right now. It's probably a ridiculous price with one of the big carriers, but I can get it down to $15 a month. Amazing. For anyone out there who's looking to save without worrying about sacrificing service, switching to Mint Mobile is truly a no-brainer. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile can pass those savings on to you. Every plan comes with unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus super fast 4G LTE, and you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Listen, switch now to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless for $15 a month. And look, if you are not 100% satisfied, Mint Mobile has you covered with its 7-day money-back guarantee. I have talked before about how I slipped a Mint SIM into my iPad, and there are times when I'm, moving, or at least when I was moving about the country, back whenever we did that a little bit more often. And I had no issue getting connected with my iPad, even in some places where my iPhone, which is part of the big carrier, was unable to do so. It's pretty beautiful the way that Mint Mobile works, stays connected, and costs so very little. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month with its 3-month introductory plan and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/STT. That's mintmobile.com/STT. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/STT. Our thanks to Mint Mobile for sponsoring this week's episode of Smart Tech Today. All righty. It's time to talk about Voice Global. There are going to be a whole lot of both improvements and additions to the developer tools available for the Google Assistant. Voice Global, it's kind of like the developer conference for voice first computing, voice first communication with the Google Assistant, and what Google is going to be providing in order to make the Google Assistant even better and for developers to take advantage of the Google Assistant. I have to admit that the Google Assistant is probably my least used voice operated computer of the big three, which would be Google Assistant, Siri, and Alexa. But I am, despite me using it the least, I am constantly impressed with what Google brings to the table, given its ability to tie in with its, its machine learning and its knowledge graph and things like that. It does some things that some of the other smart assistants are unable to do.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It is like, I don't think I've ever thought of it that way, but it's the most useful but least used. But I think that's, I'm not sure. I mean, like, I use my Echo to order things mostly, and then otherwise I'm mostly using Siri, so that might be part of it. I mean, I'm obviously like a little biased towards Siri for some reason, the shortcuts aspect of it there, but I do like, I think some of the updates today might be some of the things that might make it easier to use, or just kind of more developers can do more with it. So I think that's what's interesting. This is like a fascinating, I never know that this event is happening, Voice Global. Like, it happens every year and people are like, I'm so excited about the future of voice. And I like do Siri shortcut stuff, but I just never hear about it. I think it's so much like, sometimes these are like, what if it was like the whole world was controlled by your voice? And I very much believe shortcuts being an app is also extremely useful, because I don't always use my voice, but they're sort of the assistant plus voice thing is very intertwined. So it makes sense, but there's a lot of cool stuff. I'm excited. Do you want me to run through the list?
Or tell me. Let's talk about some of the things that are available, because I think that it makes all the difference in sort of what Google is bringing to the table and how it competes with some of the other companies out there, like Facebook, for example. What's going on with Google? What are they bringing to us?
Sure. I mean, just some high-level stats off of the top. 500 million people use it every single month in over 30 languages and over 90 countries, which is pretty cool. That is a large number of people. People use assistants a lot. And there are some, I don't remember exact stats, but Apple was just talking about in some of the developer sessions too, like lots of people use these, even though you don't necessarily always see them. But I thought another interesting detail that they went over was how they're updating all of the search and maps information for COVID-related stuff. I don't remember how much we've talked about on this show, but their duplex technology that came out, was it really only a year ago? Like, that where it calls the company as a robot and asks them information about it, and then they can just be like, our hours are this and this, and then it just puts that information straight back into Google Maps. So honestly, like at the time, that technology, I mean, their demo was, I think, really creepy at the time, where it was like, you got to tell someone they're talking to a robot if that's going to start happening, because we've all seen too many movies. But
exactly, yes. We all.
But now it's like, honestly, that's a pretty solid use case, that they literally have to contact everybody again to get updated information for coronavirus. So I guess that played out well for them for that one. And they, of course, are talking about their hand washing songs as being popular. So that's good for kids. We got that all around. We'll talk about the Apple Watch one, I guess we did talk about it already. But another thing that for me is, I think the major thing that I was kind of hinting at before, is that they have a new action builder, which is a web-based development environment for building Google Actions. Because that was always like, I tried to go in and figure out some of the stuff, but it just started to quickly get very engineering and developer level things that wasn't just like, I can string these together and maybe figure it out as a regular person. So I think that's going to be a big difference, is just that you can do natural language conversations and build those a lot easier. Like, I personally know that the easier you make these voice tools, the more people will do it. And that alone is a big difference. So I want to see this, because it just means that developers are going to be doing more, and there's more tools in the software development kit for these actions that developers can take advantage of. Something I'm not totally sure about, if this means what I hope it means, but there's an updated media API for this is kind of for, they say interactive voice actions, which are the home screens like the Nest Hub and the Nest Hub Max. But they're saying basically support for longer form media sessions and resuming playback from where you are, which now probably makes sense to me that Netflix isn't supported on these if these features weren't available. Like, I just didn't know that in the past, but if you can't resume a show that you're watching, that sounds like something that Netflix, who has like pretty high standards, even though they're on every device, like they have to work a certain way. Otherwise, it's not going to be your Netflix experience. So I really hope that means that you can watch Netflix on a Nest Hub in the future, because that would be great. There's some stuff. Home storage is just a way for those devices to store information about the people that they interact with, just so it's locally accessible instead of constantly like trying to re-download that information. And then they're also doing the AMP articles for on Google, like when you search, and the first results are usually like a carousel of articles that load instantly. And this was a whole thing with Facebook too, where they're trying to make sure all your articles load as fast as humanly possible, in the process slightly destroying some of the things that are great about the internet, like not messing with links or stuff like that. But you'll be able to basically open those articles instantly on your display as well. So I don't know how much I'm going to be reading the news on a smart display in front of me, but I can see, I've had it at my kitchen table before to get recipes with, and then it could just be like the recipe. You can scroll past the long part about the person explaining their entire life before you get to the story, or just like a headline or something like that too would make sense.
Yeah, that's the worst part. When there's just like, can I please just get to the recipe?
Please.
I don't need to hear about how one time you tripped over an orange and the zest somehow fell into the bowl, and that's why you decided to make your new orange chicken in this special way. No one believes you, and we just want the recipe.
There's like a couple other features too.
Negative, but
no, I totally agree. There's a couple other features that aren't as assistant related, but you can join Google Meet calls on your Nest Hub Max, because that's the one that has the camera, and the one that I have, the smaller one, doesn't. I actually thought that was pretty cool, because it's kind of like a Facebook portal. It doesn't have the hardware where Facebook portal does like literally see where you are and move around, which Facebook being watching you again, I think that's why most people don't want to use it. So even though I don't necessarily like want to give Google access into my living room as much, I've said that before on this show, like that is a pretty neat thing, because I could see it being on your desk and you could just join meetings and have that off to the side. But I just need headphones that connect to it. But then they have blurred backgrounds in Google Meet and more features for that, which is pretty nice. You can do meet.new in the browser and it will create a new session, which I did use that a couple times during WWDC, just to be like, let's hang out. Like, I don't have a paid Zoom as a part of it, like lasts more than 40 minutes. And then two other features that are notable: business messages via Google Maps and search. So some of that is, we see similar stuff on Apple Maps that they've been working on, but you can directly message the business and kind of get in contact with them. And then with Google Maps, they have Google Photos, they have a good Maps feature, and also like the memories collection stuff. So you can go look through all of your photos and where you took them, which seems like something they also should have had owning Google Maps and all, but I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. So, it is what it is.
It's a lot of Google news, and this like pretty much all slipped by me until I did the research, because I was like this happening right during WWDC is a little attention grabbing. I was spending hours organizing my shortcuts. So
folders.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So let's talk about this really quickly, and then we can move on to the project. I wanted to note, I got a Twitter message a while back from New York Times columnist at large, I think is how his title is, let me make sure. Writer at large for the New York Times Opinion, Charlie Warzel. He said, hey, I was doing some research on the Kinza smart thermometer and your name came up. And I was wondering if you'd like to chat about it. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So we had a little chat. He was just asking about the Kinza smart thermometer, to see if there was some, more to it, kind of learning about the health weather map that they were creating and whether this system can be used to predict early detection for outbreaks and things like that. So I was quoted in the piece kind of talking about the privacy implications and the trade-offs there, of wanting to give data when I know it's going for a good cause, but then also being aware of what that means in terms of a trade-off. And then how I felt Kinza could improve upon its privacy statement and making sure that users know exactly how their data is being used. So yeah, I encourage you to go check out that piece, preferably from a browser that you've got a lot of screen to work with, because there's some excellent data visualization within the article. It's just well worth scrolling through just to see that. Definitely not just because of the quote, but because of what Charlie has put together here. So yeah, if you have a moment, go check that out and give it a share too. Because Mr. Warzel has put together an excellent piece kind of talking about one way that we are looking at methods to figure out when things should or should not be reopened. And along with that, some predictions that the company is making based on the data that it has about places that we have to pay close attention to, including, sad to say, my home state of Missouri, which is showing some not so great signs of early detection for outbreak. So,
well, congratulations on the feature at the least.
Yeah, that part was fun.
Is that going to be in a print edition? Do you know?
I don't know. If it is, then I need to get that. How do you get a New York Times print edition?
What is this paper you speak of?
How do you paper?
It doesn't come on your iPad. I don't understand. Like, how do you get it delivered? I'm not sure, but we should look it up and get one to you, because that's cool. You're famous.
Oh yeah. As long as I never become infamous, I'm good. That's my only desire. All right. It's time to talk about what you got for us in terms of, so you've been, Matthew has absolutely been digging into the fiber, just using those canines to grind down and tear apart every single bit of nutrient that he can squeeze out of the iOS and the, I guess, watchOS and any of the operating systems, just to get at the nitty-gritty deliciousness. And with that comes now some of the things that you were excited about that have to do with automation and sort of smart control of your devices and empowering you to do more with those devices that you have. So I'm sure that there's a trillion things you could talk about.
I have a full list.
I have to limit you a little bit.
Yes.
Tell me what we're working with.
I think we recorded last week just after the keynote, so we didn't necessarily, or after the State of the Union, and we didn't necessarily know a lot of the things from the developer sessions about shortcuts, but there are some particular things related to wearables and then automation stuff, and then also just the general overall experience of using shortcuts. For somebody like me, like I said, I got all of my shortcuts into folders now, so that's glorious. They're not all in the exact perfect order, but that's okay. But along with that just comes the ability to basically be able to share your shortcuts a lot more easily. And I think one thing that I didn't mention about the new compact UI is the way that developers are going to take advantage of this, because I think the major feature that people should know about for shortcuts next year from the apps that they're using is that the interaction with those apps is going to be a lot more rich. It's called an intense UI, so user interface. And that basically means that instead of just sort of the function of shortcuts working, or function of shortcuts from your apps working with Siri, now you'll be able to interact with them in a richer way in the views, where you can like pick from menus or submenus. And I have a tweet from developer Simon Stovring, who basically is like, pay attention to this. Now is the time. Like, this is what is going to be important to developers and Apple in the future. And I was like, yes, very much. That is, I love other people saying that as usual. That's always good to hear. That's going to be really cool, just because you'll have a lot richer shortcuts and Siri type experiences if you're using the device. And then also if it's just going voice only, it'll still be more powerful that way. So that's really important. There is, I didn't even mention really last week anything about the Apple Watch app. I thought there was going to be folder support, but it actually is the shortcuts app has its own special folder for the Apple Watch shortcuts, and they can exist there and in a folder. So basically that means it's not like you have to move them into your Apple Watch category and they don't work anywhere else. It's just kind of like the share sheet, a toggle that's like, yes, show it on my watch. But the really cool part that I didn't mention is that they will show up as little complications on your watch face. So you can set one specific shortcut to one part of your watch face, and you can also do multiple different shortcuts on the same watch face to different things. So, like, that's another feature of just watchOS in general, is you can have different complications from the same app on one watch face. Sorry, it's confusing language, but like if you want one type of weather with complication on one face and then a different complication on the same face, you can do that now. So that's very cool. The super cool feature that I also didn't mention that we found out is that there's watch actions for shortcuts, which let you set the watch face using the Shortcuts app. So basically, people have long asked for profiles on the watch where it's like, this is my workout settings, and then this is my workday thing. And you can do that by swiping in between faces. But now you can use the time-based automations that I talked about last week to basically switch your watch face for you at certain times of day, which is very, very cool, especially with all of those shortcuts complications and things like that. You can literally just have like a workout shortcut or a workout watch face and then switch to that when you need to. And I also have a special pro tip for shortcuts users. If you use a choose from menu action, you can then title those watch faces something differently and have each one set. So I literally named mine workout, and I can just pick, I want my workout face, and it'll change it on my watch, which is very cool. It's like, this is where the shortcuts programming stuff starts to come in handy, because you can essentially build the feature before hopefully Apple does something else with it. But that's super cool. There's other ones for like setting theater mode and stuff like that. Probably more related to like the sleep tracking stuff. Another feature there that I didn't mention is that when you're going to bed, there's a special category of app shortcuts that can be set to run at bedtime, so that like when it sets it up, it's like, okay, now turn off the lights, set my cellular off, or so. I'm not sure exactly, but people can customize a lot there. I was bummed for the keynote because I was like, that's a major feature, the sleep tracking stuff that people are going to do. And that's just a great way to force them to use some shortcuts too, because that's all good for me. And then one very cool accessibility feature is the ability to double tap the back of the phone or triple tap it to perform different actions. This is sort of, I'm not sure the very specific intention, but I could see this as a mobility thing for, sometimes it is just pretty hard to like squeeze the phone to activate Siri. And that's kind of like an awkward gesture depending on, especially if you have any mobility issues. So you can just give the phone on the back a quick double tap or 3 taps, and you can set that to run a shortcut, or I have mine set to run double tap just activates Siri, so that's pretty cool. And then the triple tap one, our friend Renee Ritchie was like, I want this to play the Imperial March every time I walk in the front door. So that was pretty funny. And I set that up for him and did a little screenshot of the steps because it is buried in accessibility a little bit. But
yeah, I set that up on my phone for a moment, but now my phone will randomly start playing the Imperial March.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Exactly. That's happened to me all the time. Like I'll just pick up my phone or set it down and it'll trigger. So I think they should add some sensitivity controls to that option, especially because people with accessibility needs probably need that type of sensitivity, but it is beta 1 too. So that's a big thing is there's a lot of stuff that they'll probably immediately fix. But the coolest demo that I saw and that made me literally laugh out loud was MKBHD tweeted, okay, here's a good tip. Double tap the back of your phone to activate the Google Assistant shortcut. And so it's basically now you can use Google Assistant on your phone every time if you want, which is actually like, that's amazing. Like that is not exactly default apps, which we did get, but like a default assistant, but that's pretty dang close. Like
speaking of, how is that a setting that's available yet? You would know better than me because I don't know where to go to set up different default apps.
Things. Yeah. I think apps need to adopt it for it to be able to show up. But and isn't it? It's only mail in browser currently.
Yes.
That people will now be able to use Chrome or Gmail. Basically, it's like the Google feature, which is great for them. Let me run through. There's a couple other features that I do want to just mention because I'm the shortcuts guy. I think a major thing is, I mentioned it before, but time-based automations can now be run in the background without confirming, which is like complete scheduling of programs as long as you don't need to physically interact with them. But you can have stuff like log data in the background every day, or I'm going to be updating. I take my favorites mix and the chill mixes that they make, and each week it updates it into a playlist of the master chill mix or whatever. So because I always was curious, I had this just as a manual shortcut that I would run before, but I always wanted to know what Apple Music thought I would like and just put it in a giant list so that I can just delete it from there later too if I didn't want. But now that's just going to like update itself all the time, which is cool. But the thing I didn't mention last week is email triggers and messages triggers. So if you get an email from your boss, it can flash the lights red and be like red alert or something like that. Or it can, when somebody finally texts you back, there's kind of some funny stuff you could do there. But then there's new actions for starting a workout on your Apple Watch. The faces, like I said before, stocks apps, the stock app has one. There's now like request ride with any installed apps that support that. A cool one is calculate expressions. So you can do math. You can say like 7 + 5. Like you could do your homework with shortcuts. Maybe I'll have to make a video about that. Although I probably shouldn't totally. And then the other major thing is being able to close an app or being able to use when an app closes. That's an automation also. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just saying, why not? Why not shit?
Just my mother is a teacher, so she might not approve. But
okay. In that case,
like,
yeah, you got to be careful.
Kids not learning math. I'd rather them learn the math. But I mean, shortcuts, doing calculations in shortcuts actually helped reinforce some math concepts for me because I had to like literally order them, and then that forces you to think of the order of operations and all that. But I'd rather have it be easier than pretty complex before. So this will actually be huge for nerds, but also just people in general of like, I don't want like figuring out that math stuff I think was way too complicated before. So that'll be good now.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, that's mostly it. I am incredibly thankful for the folder stuff or just very basic things like I can search for a shortcut, pick up multiple shortcuts and drop them somewhere else, which I couldn't do that before. It was a single file, one at a time thing that was literally like not good for my ability to produce and share these. So I will be sharing more. I even did a live stream earlier today. So I'm going to be going full speed ahead, which is fun. Oh my God. I forgot about my scoop.
Yeah. You told me
scoop.
There was a scoop.
That's right. It's I might be hyping it a little bit too much, but there is a new way to activate the Apple TV Screensaver using the Apple TV shortcuts actions. So this is something I haven't seen yet online, but they just updated them with more capabilities. But now you can basically, my just immediate thought was like, times are a little bit stressful, so have a chill out shortcut or zone out one that just turns on the screensavers with like the jellyfish and the drone shots, and then play some chill music and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a fun one. There's a couple more actions for the Apple TV. So yes, that is one I haven't seen go around. I always love some.
Cool. All right. Is that all you've got for us then?
Oh, I guess you can turn on captions also, and you can switch accounts on the Apple TV. So that's nice, because I think in general, I think these features will make it so that people are able to basically, like, if I give my girlfriend a shortcut, she can set it up to just be like, I want to open my app on the TV and switch to my account right away. So that is like actually a pretty powerful feature for Apple TV, because I think a major thing with WWDC, like, we kind of haven't even gotten into home screen widgets and all that. Like, there's so much, but it seems like it's going to be like, you can personalize your device so much now. It's unreal, especially with the automations. The Apple Watch stuff is really powerful. Like, just having shortcuts on there is so cool. That's going to be great. Like, it's pretty impressive stuff. And I mean, Google Assistant stuff is, I don't know, I'm pumped all around. Like, this is great. I want to see more with Amazon now too, so we can just get it on all sides.
I agree. All right, let me talk about my pick of the week. This was something that flew by the radar, and I decided to zoom in early and grab some of these just to see if they would be sort of what I had hoped they would be. And I have been pretty happy with them. So folks out there who have ever used in-ear monitors or have used earbuds of any sort may be familiar with Comply. Comply makes special foam ear tips that they come in different varieties. So you can get them in sport, you can get them in I think professional. There are a bunch of different kinds, and each of them provide unique experiences. The sport ones, for example, have they're very good and at resisting sweat and things like that. So Comply said, you know what we're going to do? We are going to make some Comply ear tips for AirPods Pro. And that is what they've done. Now, you'll notice that right now there are 3 stars out of 5. Here's why that is, and I want to talk about this specifically. First of all, if you didn't order these soon enough, Comply had unfortunately given a ship date that was a little bit what is it? Your eyes were bigger than your stomach kind of situation. Yeah. They had hoped that they were going to be able to get these out by a certain date, and they were overwhelmed with orders. People really, really wanted these because they work just like the AirPods Pro tips work. They click in just like the other ones do, and have the little mesh that keeps the earwax out, but they just have that nice Comply foam on the end, which it's the cool thing about Comply tips is that they are body heat sensitive. So you smush them down and they stay that way until they come in contact with your ear, at which point they start to heat up, and then they go back, sort of, they start to grow back to normal in size. And so it provides for a really good seal in your ears. Anyway, that was one of the issues. And then in rushing to get these orders out, some of the batches shipped with a quality assurance issue where the foam on the outside was not properly adhered to the fastening portion. And so the good thing is they communicated as quickly as possible to let people know that their shipping dates might change. And then they also communicated to let people know that they may be part of that bad batch and that they would, make good by that. So as is the way with things, some folks, when faced with an issue, are not happy regardless. And so I think that's why we're getting the 3 out of 5 stars on the site, because I got them. I went ahead and ordered the small, medium, large kit just because. So typically I'm a medium when these white ones are the actual ones from Apple. The black ones are the Comply tips. I'm a medium typically when it comes to Comply's other ear tips, but I wanted to make sure that, it would be the same with these because AirPods are a little bit different. And so far the medium ones seem to be the best. I haven't tried the small ones yet. I may go for that, but the large ones would definitely be way too large. So if you don't know for sure and you really want to try these out, $24.99 for 3 pairs, be it. If you know that you want to go for small, you want to go for medium, you want to go for large, you get 3 pairs. But if you go for the small, medium, large, also $24.99. I think they are fantastic. They provide a better seal than the standard silicone tips that are provided with the AirPods Pro. And yeah, I'm very happy with them. You get a super secure fit and they sound much more isolated. So yeah, I like them. Like I said, I was able to get in early and get these pretty much on the date that I think it was a couple days after the date that was suggested for me. So yeah, those are the Comply foam tips for AirPods Pro, $24.99 from Comply. What about you?
Well, before I do that, have I ever told you how I have this weird habit of buying products and then not using them? And I have the Comply phone tips and I haven't opened them yet.
So
because I want to do it on a stupid video and then I don't do it.
Is it for the AirPods Pro?
Yeah, I have this triple
goodness.
R3 sizes too, and I've had it for like 2 weeks. And it's like,
so
I'm
going
to make a video about it.
I
want to experience it in real time. Yeah, sorry.
You've not told me that you do that, but you don't need to. You do the show, don't tell, like what you're supposed to do. I have come to know that about you. How long did you have the Philips Hue button in a box before you finally?
Oh yeah, exactly. And then my light strip, which I now love, my Life X1. So yeah, I hope this doesn't take me too. WWDC got in the way, to be fair, but also
yes,
it's like, and it's very vain, but I haven't cut my hair at all or anything. And YouTube videos are very permanent. But
you could just do what I do, which is unbox a thing and then rebox it when it comes time for doing the video.
Yeah. But it's even I wanted to do it with the shortcut stuff this week. I wish I filmed my reaction live because I do think sometimes the me being like, whoa, these are way better, or like, these aren't as good as I thought. Sometimes I wish I had caught that on camera, and
yeah, it's more authentic.
It's definitely. I'm bringing it up to shame myself on air so that I stop doing that and I actually make the video. But these look very good. Also, I'm pretty sure they got out of stock because Federico Vitici had a whole AirPods trick where you could buy the set of tips from like a Japanese Amazon store and then take out the foam that was in those tips and put it on your underneath your AirPods.
Yeah,
and then that would create the seal, and that was extremely popular. And then Federico was like, "These guys are coming out with this thing," so I think everybody jumped on them at once. And then they were like, "Good God, what do we do?" So I hope you now have me concerned that I'm going to try it. I've waited all this time live, and then they're going to be falling apart on me.
Oh no, so you got the bad batch. Oh no,
exactly.
I hope not.
I hope not. So, but my pick of the week is Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racing for Nintendo Switch. This is. I, of course, had to tweet it with my favorite Star Wars quote, "It's working! It's working!" which Anakin yells in the beginning of the movie because I was like the perfect age for that movie when it came out. And I love Pod Racer. I played this game so much, unreasonably good at like the advanced levels that you end up doing in reverse and like 4 times speed. So this is an awesome game. It's very low quality graphics. Like, this is early video, like N64 style stuff, but this is like embedded in my brain forever. Like we're showing the screenshots on screen and some levels I haven't gotten to yet, and it's like, oh my god, all of these ships and everything this was my childhood. I remember playing with my cousins and things like that. So Pod Racer on Switch, I'm all for all old games and everything like that coming to Switch, because that alone is like an amazing piece of smart tech.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, folks, we have reached the end of another episode of Smart Tech Today. If you have questions or feedback, or have a product that you want us to try out before you buy it, or any of that stuff, you can let us know by emailing stt@twit.tv. That's right. We make it simple for you. STT stands for Smart Tech Today at twit.tv. Of course, we record this show live every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, which is 4 p.m. Pacific, 2300 UTC. And if you would like to subscribe to the show so you don't have to worry about when it's live, you can watch it anytime you want to. You just head to twit.tv/STT, where you can subscribe to the show in its various formats, both audio and video, regardless of what platform you're using. So if you're a Google podcaster or a Spotify podcaster, or I had somebody the other day ask me if my podcast was on Spotify, and he said, you know what it is? You listen to podcasts on Spotify? I don't know what accent that is. It's terrible. Anyway, I met a person who actually does listen to podcasts on Spotify.
You met somebody? Cool. When did you meet somebody? That's what I'm surprised about. Outside interaction with somebody else?
Yes, it was a social distanced instance with masks and all that. So just to be clear out there, everybody, wear your mask. It's very important. But it was an old friend who was going from across the country to the other part of the country. Oh. And so we were able to meet up really quick and say hi. That we happened to talk about listening to podcasts on Spotify, which is very interesting. Be sure to subscribe to us on those various platforms. Matthew Cassinelli, if folks want to follow you online and check out your awesome work, how can they do so?
I want people to subscribe to the video version of this podcast in Apple Podcasts if you're on the beta, because picture-in-picture for these podcasts is going to be great, I think, for all Twitch shows. But also you can follow me on youtube.com/Matthew Cassinelli. I just did a live stream today on twitch.tv/Matthew Cassinelli with my friend Ricky, and over on Twitter at Matt Cassinelli, Cassinelli. And yes, I will be posting some fun shortcuts videos soon and all summer. There's so much to talk about. I have so many shortcuts to share, and I'm going to be going full steam ahead and teaching people. So tune in, join, comment, all that jazz.
Cool. You can follow me on pretty much all the social media platforms at Mikah Sargent. You can also head to chihuahua.coffee. I have not set up that website, the new website yet, but I will soon. It's chihuahua.coffee, where there are links to the different things I do online. Folks, it is time to say goodnight to your smart assistants as they continue to get smarter. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Oh. Hey, I'm Jason Howell, host of Hands on Android, a techie look at how to customize your Android device, as well as take a look underneath the hood and see what's really going on down there. You can subscribe by going to twit.tv/HOA, or you can find Hands on Android in your podcatcher of choice.